All right, today we're going to learn some construction techniques for our cardboard challenge. I'm going to show you a few techniques. This one's called the slot. This one's called the flange, and there's a couple ways to use that one. This is how to create a cylinder, and this is a little bit of a folding idea technique for you guys to use. I'm also going to show you this one called the slot, so you can kind of see how that might look. So the first one we're going to do is the cylinder. You're going to get this base to use, a thicker piece of cardstock. This kind of is like the cylinder or the cereal box kind, and then a couple pieces of just construction paper. So the cylinder you're going to use for lots of different things. You can create tubes for support, but a cylinder, you need a piece of rectangle, and you don't want it to be too small or you can't turn it. Once you've turned the rectangle, you're going to tape it, and sometimes just even taping it can be tricky. To create the flange, you're going to cut around the bottom of your cylinder, and this is how you're going to get it to attach to something, because if I just set it on the cardboard, it's got too thin of an edge to glue or to tape. So this creates a flat space when you fold those back to be able to attach. And I can glue those, I can tape those. That is one technique to use, and you can use that however your design is looking, you can use that. Another technique is called the tab, and this is kind of a simple way to use the tab. The nice thing about this is you can bend this. It's a little bit flexible, and you have these tabs to be able to glue down. So with the tab, I'm just going to use this extra piece. You're only going to cut along one side of your paper, and if you make the tab smaller, it's more flexible. So once you have those cut, you're going to fold back every other one in the opposite direction. So this one goes this way, that one goes that way. You can kind of see now how that's going to look. And this is a shorter piece. You could use the longer piece if you'd like to have a longer piece. You don't have a real big base here, so you're just kind of practicing these. So this could be used in different ways, and then you can get that tape and you can easily tape that down where you need it to go. All right, so that's a couple different techniques. Oh, the cylinder you can also use on a flat edge. So if you don't want it standing up like this, you can tape it or glue it laying down. Then it kind of is like a tunnel. So those are two options for the cylinder. The slit, this is kind of a advanced version of the slit. This is more of the basic version. You can kind of see it's two flat pieces, but when I put them together, they create a three-dimensional sculpture. So you want to use this thicker paper for the slit. You're going to cut off a section so you have two sort of equal sections. And then I'm going to put them on top of each other, and I'm just going to cut halfway to the middle. This is the slit, and that's going to fit into the other slit, and they basically kind of slide into each other, and you sometimes have to wiggle them together to make sure that they slide in. This one's a little bit more challenging, and they should fit perfectly together. Sometimes they fold flat, and that's kind of how boxes are created too. So if you want them to stand up, you're going to kind of have to wiggle them like that. Now here's the dilemma. You don't know how to necessarily get that. You might not know how to get this to stand up because, again, you just have this thin sort of edge to your paper, and you can't really put glue on that or tape that. You could use one of the techniques that we just talked about. You could fold one part of your design. Now this one doesn't have a cut in it. I could cut that off. Okay, so you can kind of see I cut this part off so I can actually make that lay flat on my board. So that was a problem I solved on my own. You might solve it a different way. I want to show you the slide technique, and this is kind of a fun thing to do. You might want to create a slide of some sort, and your slide's probably going to be a lot more interesting. Maybe you have little tunnels or things that go over the slide, and that actually would be kind of cool too if you created, maybe you used paper to make it look like a tunnel over the side, and then you have this nice little lip that you can attach things to. A lot of this is just figuring out how to attach the pieces together. So the slide is a simple fold on either end of a piece of construction paper, and I just used a small rectangle for this demonstration. Your project that you do in class might be a little bit bigger. And then we're going to do a zigzag fold. So with this thicker paper, I'm going to take that and fold it back and forth. This is really kind of a challenging fold because it is thicker, but the thick paper kind of makes the slide pop up a little bit more. So now I have that part folded. I'm going to use a little bit of the tape. I'm going to tape it to my slide. So I'm just going to put a little bit on the bottom because I don't really like the way the tape looks, and that kind of keeps the slide from falling down. This part I could actually tape to the cardboard so that it doesn't move, and you might be able to figure out a way to get that slide to stop from popping up too much too. That's a pretty steep slide. Okay, so a lot of these things I want you guys to think about on your own. If you have a different way to do something, maybe there's another technique that you figured out works. That's part of what is fun about this. If something doesn't work, I expect you, to have mistakes and things that don't quite work the way that you want them to. But what I want you to do is think about why it didn't work and how you can do it differently to make it work the way you want to. A lot of this is just thinking. It's not something that I want you guys to go right to your teacher and say, how do I do this? How do I make this? I want you to think about it, and it takes a lot of patience. Sometimes the idea doesn't come right away, but if you keep working with things and thinking things through, then you probably will come up with something really cool. And maybe not, but that's okay. So have fun, and we are also going to get these cool bags. So these bags have some different papers in them, and you might add some of these to your project on Global Cardboard Challenge Day. They have some stickers. They have maybe something that you could create, like a merry-go-round. Maybe you could figure out a way to make this stand up or maybe lay it flat. These are some nice papers to use for maybe some of those things that I just showed you. This could be something fun. Again, these are all kind of fun things that you might decide that you want to use. Nice big circles. You might use this to trace something else. You might use it, maybe cut it in half. And then this is actually a nice thick piece of paper. The thickness of the paper sometimes matters depending on what you're using it for. Stickers are always going to look cool stuck on part of your designs, and those are going to be for you guys to use however you want. This is going to be just something we do in art to give you some ideas for some construction techniques.